Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'm going to start telling you a story about a very successful business. There was this smart young entrepreneur who had launched a business and he was manufacturing certain products and selling it into the B2B space to companies. Now, this person was hardworking, intelligent, and he put in his blood and sweat to grow the business. And very soon, in a matter of a couple of years, he was doing about $1 million worth of revenue, about 7 odd crores worth of revenue. Now, at that juncture, he landed up getting an amazing opportunity to cross-sell his products onto a very, very large company that actually gave him an opportunity to triple his sales. So he thought he had all his ducks in one row and he went all in to service that particular order because from $1 million worth of revenue, he would be jumping straight to $3 million of revenue in just a matter of 6 months. And that was too exciting an opportunity to be let go of. Now, you might turn around and say, hey, this is an amazing success story. But just 9 months from that date, he had to shut down his business. Wow, you say, a business that has grown 3 times, so successful, why would he need to shut down? It shut down because for a very, very basic reason. The entrepreneur did not focus upon what is known as the cash conversion cycle. That is exactly what sometimes a lot of people forget to focus upon when they build the businesses. And I'm here to today talk about what is the cash conversion cycle. So where does this concept of the cash conversion cycle come from? Let's look at it now. So all of you are very familiar with the famous book, Jim Collins, Great by Choice. And Jim Collins in his particular book has really stated that growth sucks cash. And in this particular case, this company is growing rapidly and growing very fast. And that is what really sucks cash. And if you are a growing company, then as compared to any other normal company, you need to have 3x to 10x the cash that a normal company would have to be able to sustain that kind of a growth that you want to do. And this is exactly the problem that this individual faced. Now, to analyze this further, I went and looked at a couple of other very, very interesting books that came in this scenario. This is a wonderful book that I would recommend to all of you to go and pick up and check it out. The Customer Funded Business by John Mullins. He's a doctorate. And this is a very, very interesting book that tells you a lot of elements that will help you to understand what can help you get your business funded by a customer instead of by your own pocket. Another book that I picked up was a book called Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. So these are the two primary books that I based my research upon to build out all other elements that I could identify of examples and then bring this to you today to share with all of you. Let's really look at what is the cash conversion cycle. So what is the importance of cash flow first of all? As they say in business, revenue is vanity. Profit is sanity. But cash is king. Because ultimately, a lot of the people who are in the financial field sitting in this meeting will tell you, profit is an opinion and can be manipulated to produce a specific outcome. But you cannot change the reality of cash and debt balances. Those are hard realities that keep staring at you day in and day out. So this is the reason why your balance sheet might look great. Your P&L like look very, very beautiful. But if you do not really have the right cash flow, you're going to be in serious trouble, like that young entrepreneur at the beginning of our story was all about. So let's really understand what is the cash conversion cycle. The cash conversion cycle is a metric that expresses the time measured in days it takes for a company to convert its investments in inventory and other resources into cash flows from sales. Sounds simple, just like Jayant gave an explanation of a machine. I mean, something like that, right? It's basically a metric that you figure out when do you get the money that you paid for when you got your inventory, right? That's the time in between. And one of the best examples of a company that achieved phenomenal success in this area is a company that I work for. I was lucky to have worked for, and I'm sure all of you know about this company. right? Now, I'm going to give the example of the company, but before we go there, let's understand what are the components of the cash conversion that you can have. The conversion cycle will have 4 cycles between itself. One is the sales cycle, which is obviously something which Giant is covering in sales and marketing engine. You have a make and production inventory cycle, you have a delivery cycle, and you have a billing and payment cycle. So all of these 4 put together really come together to create the cash conversion cycle. And if you need to focus on cash conversion cycle, you actually have to focus on all of these 4 different things. Now, there is a very interesting estimate that is had that in 2016, there is a company that estimated the working capital, and they came up with the estimate that nearly $590 billion of excess cash was tied up in working capital and can be recaptured without hurting ongoing operations. Can you imagine that? $590 billion could be recaptured without hurting of ongoing operations. When you look at the amount of money being left on the table, when you look at the amount of inefficiencies that even in the US you have companies having. And this is what an example of it really comes from. Now, this is an example of a company that I work for, Dell. Now, Dell hired a CEO like Tom, who was responsible for an amazing turnaround. And if you look at all the other companies that Dell competes with, these are all the companies like EMC, HP, Arista, all of the other companies, Lenovo. And you can see from a market capitalization point of view where you stand. That means on the x-axis, what you have the market capitalization. On the y-axis, you have their cash conversion cycle. And you can see Dell is right there. That large green circle that you see here, this is Dell. So they were obviously high on market cap as well as the lowest that you could see amongst all the companies in terms of the cash conversion cycle. And let's look at what is the wizardry that was done by Tom. So when Tom came in, Dell CCC was at 58 days. That means from the time that Dell paid suppliers to the time Dell realized that money from its customer, there was a gap of 58 days. Over a period of 10 years, between 1995 and 2006, Tom brought that from 58 days to minus 47 days. What does it mean? That means the customer paid Dell on day 1 and Dell paid the suppliers on day 47. So Dell had that money from its customers even before the item was manufactured. I'm sure if you landed up buying items online from Dell, you will experience this. You pay upfront, the manufacturing happens, and then subsequently the vendors get paid. So Dell did this amazing turnaround in terms of the cash conversion cycle. And this is basically one of the biggest, it's a Harvard business case study actually, right? So this is something that you can learn from, that in a business like this, if you can bring it from 58 days to minus 47 days, what is it that you could do in your own business? So there are a couple of questions you need to understand. Do you track your cash? Start focusing on it, because when you do that, you can ensure that you reach where you need to be. Thank you. Over to the TMO.